Like the Minority Report, fiction turned into Orwellian reality. Let's get into it. In 2002, I watched a movie, pretty decent movie. Wasn't the best movie I've ever seen, but that's no here nor there. Um, Back in 2002, I watched a movie, and I'm going to give a brief synopsis of that movie. Based on a story by famed science fiction writer Philip K. Dick, Minority Report is an action detective thriller set in Washington, D.C. in 2054, where police utilize a psychic technology to arrest and convict murderers before they commit their crimes. Tom Cruise stars in this movie, and he heads up the pre-crime unit. That's what the unit was called. It was called pre-crime. And in this movie, it had a very interesting concept. As you heard when I read the synopsis of the movie, the unit Tom Cruise headed up was a pre-crime unit. Now you may ask, what is a pre-crime unit? Well, the unit was set up basically to arrest and convict murderers before they committed their crimes. And in the movie, they utilize these precogs or these psychics. One in particular who had a very strong psychic connection to have precognitive visions of the future, or possible future, I should say, more or less. Now, in this pre-crime unit, she would get a vision of a murder being committed, and you could visually see the murder being committed and by whom. And then, of course, a time frame was given when the crime would actually take place. They would have to do their little detective things to figure out exactly where the crime would take place, and a whole little plethora of evidence they had to combine together to stop the murder before it happened. Now, what was very interesting about this movie, it had a duality to it, where this could have been a very good thing for society on a whole, but it also had another side of what happens when a person doesn't commit a crime or commit that murder, which is why the movie was called Minority Report, because there was some possible futures where the murder would not happen. And the program essentially failed due to the fact that humans are dynamic, meaning that sometimes humans can be strict and stern in their moralistic views, or they could bend them or right out break them. And one of those morals that people tend to not break is murder. The act of murder. And in the movie, just to wrap the synopsis about the movie and my dialogue about the movie up, the program ended up failing because, like anything in life, you cannot completely predict the future and have that prediction set in stone. There are a lot of factors that could happen that could stop that future from actually happening. Humans are dynamic; they're not myopic. A person could kill someone in the heat of an argument. They could lose control. It could be premeditated. It can be a number of factors that happen that could either allow the murder to happen, or a person could pull back and not commit the murder at all. You may ask, why am I going down this road about this movie? Well, I'm going to get you there in just a second. The reason I go over this movie is to highlight the fact that you cannot predict a person's future. No future is set in stone. No path is paved in gold. People can deviate from paths that they take, or paths that they may have found themselves stumbling on. This is what we do as human beings. When nothing we do is set in stone. And I'm sure by now everyone has heard or got whiff of the Ahmaud Arbery case in Georgia. Now, this case isn't interesting. This case isn't something new. This case, I didn't mean to say this case wasn't interesting, but this case has an air of familiarity, meaning we've seen this before. We've seen this play out time and time again, that when a black victim is murdered, they criminalize the victim. Essentially, they kill you twice. You're killed by the act of the murder, and you're killed in character. And this what brings me to my point of fiction becoming Orwellian reality. I've never seen a case of someone being murdered unjustly. When that person is murdered, they become the assailant. Their character is called into question. Now, this only happens with black people. We can look at the case of Justine Damon, if I'm saying her name right. She was an Australian killed by a police officer, Mohammed Noor, and he was convicted of 12 years, I believe, on like a second-degree manslaughter and a third-degree murder charge. Her family was awarded a huge settlement, $20 million, I believe, unheard of. But what do we know about Justine Damon or Diamond? Nothing. We don't know anything about her. She wasn't torn to shreds in the media. Her criminal record wasn't on display. She was simply allowed to be a victim. Where's that same path for Ahmaud Arbery? Where's his lane to just be a victim? He doesn't have one. His family is being victimized over and over and over again by the propaganda arm of our plutocrat system of white supremacy. It's a sad time when a man can be senselessly murdered, and the biggest issue out of that murder is, what crime was he committing? What crime was he committing? Now, a video was released of him going into a vacant home that was, I believe, was being renovated, or some repairs, or whatever the home was undergoing for it being vacant. And he, went in and he took a look around. So what? A first world country where we're allotted freedoms. You're telling me that it's justifiable to kill a man because he walked around into a home that was being renovated because some inbred idiots had a kill list? I mean, I seriously ask this question. Are we now killing people? Well, in this country, we've been doing it for centuries. Killing people based on something they may or may not do. I have to ask this question. What does that say about your society when you have millions upon millions of people in that society who say killing a man for possibly stealing is justifiable? I mean, what are we doing here? Are we now killing people because they steal? Where I come from, that punishment doesn't fit the crime. You have to live in a world where the punishment fits the crime. If I steal a jelly bean, I don't lose an eye. If I steal a radio out of your car without harming anyone, my hand should not be cut off. The punishment has to fit the crime. It has to. Or you can't go around touting yourself as a first world country and the leader of democracy of the free world. It's a contradiction. And you have certain people who are trying to conflate a possible trespassing as a crime, as a link to burglary or vandalism. Is that the world we're living in now? Where you're actively looking for justification in killing a man for looking around a renovated home. Mind you, the homeowner said there was nothing taken, not a thing. And this man was still murdered. Not by the police, not by any law enforcement, but by private citizens who decided to put any man would do, any black man would do, on a kill list. So now we're living in a society where private citizens can initiate kill lists because they want to. So let's take a look at Ahmaud Arbery. We can consider what happened to him a Minority Report.